All righty, it's go time. So, as you can see, I am packed and ready to go. I've managed to get it down. This is a goodie bag we're going to play with. This is a side bag, but this is my bag, right, that I've got packed for the road trip. We're about to go on down in Florida to reconnect some things and things of that nature. This is MJ, aka Victor Bang. This is about the engineer that awakened in this matrix, and it's about to turn up a whole nother level, right? And it's not nothing that you haven't heard if you follow me on any of my social media sites. Talked about being Jesus before, but I want to replay a conversation that I had with someone that just listened to me explain it and listened to the possibility. And I explained it to them as I would someone off of the street. And this person, I asked them, for one, if they believe in reincarnation, and they said that it was a possibility. So that's fine. I'm only talking about possibility, right? And just make sure we're linked up. So we're only talking about possibility. Is this possible? So let's just say it's possible, like this red cube right here, this red pill, if you will, is possible. So that's fine. We're only talking about what's possible. I wrote the book, The 100-Degree Challenge, about what's possible. And maybe I got it back here, we'll see. But I do have to get on this road. And let me just say, while I'm doing this, it's a lot going on. It's been a lot going on. Been a lot of plates spinning to keep the potentials there, to keep the timelines available so that you can have more choices available. That's what it boils down to. But we're going to get to Jesus and replan this conversation. But before I get to that, why are you wearing this scarf? And this was and let's just get to some of these props. You're going to hear about some of these props here eventually, but we'll talk about this so I can get them out the way. Because again, I'm kind of rushing and I'm stuttering and all of that stuff. But this is from a company party, so I'm an engineer here in this matrix. And this matrix is just this physical world. It's talked about in the Bible, and I'm in the Bible Belt, so I mention the Bible because some people don't believe anything unless it's in the Bible. Now, if you don't believe in Jesus and you don't believe anything I'm saying, that's fine. You're in good company because my own family doesn't. And my mom's name is Mary, right? She doesn't believe that Jesus is coming back in. She's a Christian, Church of Christ. So I grew up in that. And I had my own awakening myself, which I documented. Sorry for hitting the mic. And that has activated my own internal light. If I can find where my light switch is, and that's kind of the whole deal with humanity. You don't know where your light switch is. It's internal. It's an internal switch, and only you can find it. Just like that example, right? And I was just saying, sorry for the mic again. This is a remnant from a company party where I'm an engineer and do continuous improvement work. When we're talking about spiritual continuous improvement, that's what the enlightened masters, if you want to call them that, or people that awaken within this matrix or realize who they are, activate their light. That's all they're about, improving themselves. But anyway, that's what I do for a living as an engineer. But we had a company party and I wore a shiny jacket and was dancing, and we'll play with that footage. We may do a video on that. But I'm an artist as well, right? And this is just a remnant of the one drink that I had left that I could have got from a company party to give you these straight tickets. All right, so I want to get that out the way. Because that company is where the individual works that we had a conversation with. And it was an interesting conversation because, so one, we said it's possible that reincarnation exists. And then I said, well, let's just look at it from a purely scientific standpoint. And I said, and we were using this table as an example. I was standing on this side and he was standing on that side, and we were having a conversation. So I like to kind of replay that. Maybe we'll do that in a podcast form or something if he's up to it. Right now, he shall remain anonymous in the background, but I'm not making this stuff up. I didn't make none of this stuff up. This is too much to make up. Reality is stranger than fiction. And it's, why would I make up a story like this? Who am I to make up a crazy story like this? And where's my proof and all the evidence and all that? We'll talk through that. But if I'm not someone that has a history of doing that, why would you think I would start now? And what were the changes in actions and beliefs and things that I did in my life that were reflected internal change, right? Just because I look the same outside, something could have changed internally. Now my action should change, right? You know better, you do better. So a lot of what we're talking about with people in this reality not doing better is because they don't know better. They don't know who they are. They don't know that the light within them, for one, they don't even know that they are light beings, that they are God, that they are consciousness, that they are spiritual beings having a human experience. That's what we're talking about for the basics. Spiritual being having a human experience. I want to talk about this here. So just think about that. And this is Sitting Owl. And this is shout out to Sitting Owl, who is, just talk about her. That's my aunt. And I was raised by strong black women. And as far as my DNA, I'm pretty much a mutt. And Sitting Owl, the reason I mention that is because Sitting Owl, our Aunt Mary, did our DNA stuff, and we got history going from all over, from Europe to Africa to Native Americans and all of that stuff, right? So we have a story history of my family on that side and on the other side. So I got a light-skinned side of the family and a dark-skinned side of the family, and you'll probably see both of them as we make these trips, right? The Johnsons and the Burnetts, and my last name is Johnson, right? But anyway, this is my aunt. Her name was Mary, but she used to like to be called Sitting Owl, so there's Sitting Owl right there, representing her spirit. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. So we're talking about this because reincarnation is just like, does the breath die when it's exhaled? Does the spirit die? And spirit comes from the Latin word for spiritus, something like that. You can look it up, but it's for breath. So imagine we're all breathing the same air. We're all the same spirit experiencing it as different beings. The air that you're breathing is the same air that I'm breathing, but it's experiencing life as me and it's experiencing life as you, right? But it's the same spirit, it's the same air. It's the same consciousness, right? And that's what we're talking about from a scientific standpoint. And scientists don't deal with consciousness. They call it the hard problem for a reason, because you can't measure it, you can't weigh it, and it's subjective and things of that nature, right? But the thing about consciousness is you can't deny that it exists, right? Now they're trying to say that consciousness arises from throwing a matter of complexity at a system and it becomes conscious. But that doesn't make sense, you know. How much circuitry can you put at, and we're trying that. They're trying that with AI, and they may get somewhere with it. But from a human standpoint, how much meat can you put together before it thinks it's you, before it has an experience, right? So the other train of thought is consciousness is primary to matter, and matter emerges from consciousness, or we're spiritual beings having a human experience. So that's what's going on, right? And science is going to catch up to that, and it's catching up to that, and there's, you know, things that they're doing with quantum physics and things of that nature that show spooky action at a distance, if you will. It's like what Einstein called it. So they're realizing that aspect of reality. Now think about this. People knew this thousands of years ago, right? They may not have used the same language that we're using now, but they knew this thousands of years ago. They were very highly intelligent and technological. If you look at what they built, like the pyramid, that's an enigma. We can't build that with the technology that we have today. And that was more than likely built thousands of years before they thought, or they tell us it's built now. Anyway, we won't go down that rabbit hole. But spiritual beings having a human experience, and that's been talked about for ages, right? And the beings that wake up within this stream, and we are taught this when we were kids, when you come into this world, roll, roll, roll your boat gently downstream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. So awakening in the dream, you know, the Buddhas, the Jesuses, the Yeshuas is his real name, but a lot of people don't even look deeper past what's in the Bible. They think the Bible is the inerrant word of God, and it was just lock stop with what the creator of the universe wanted, right? That's not the case, right? That is a belief system. And we talked about that, and we'll get into that as well, because I wanted to get his perspective, not being a black person. Because, yeah, some people don't believe Jesus could be black, right? From being a non-black person, just hearing how I explained the biblical programming that's so ingrained in African Americans, however you want to label it. And just to get his response, because most of the black people that I tell that story to, they just look at it like it's funny. So let's get into that story. But let's just start with the possibility that consciousness is primary to matter. So as the conscious beings experiencing matter, we are experiencing space and time. This is a matrix of space and time. So those people that are telling you you want to escape the matrix, we created the matrix. The matrix is for us to experience physicality. Now, the reason you want to escape this matrix, and I don't blame you for wanting to escape, is because of the outside influences and control that it's limiting your expression, your whatever, right? That's why you want to escape. You want to go somewhere that's freer, that's better, because this place is not cool, right? But we have the ability to change this place to make it cool. We can create the reality we want to experience. And that's what beings like Jesus was talking about. And they were against the church in the state. He was against the church in the state of his state. And this is saying, get to this, I keep hitting it, but we'll get there. He was against the church and state of his day. So imagine that same story, fast forwarded. But let's just start with there. So if consciousness is primary to matter, then we look at ourselves as matter, these avatars that we inhabit. So this is a carbon-based avatar, right? And we're looking to build silicon-based avatars. We're looking to build artificial consciousness, artificial intelligence, and we have natural intelligence. There's different levels to our intelligence that we can activate that certain people do activate and have shown examples of activations, but those people tend to be put on top of a pedestal. You know, we tend to put them people up here and you say, oh, well, they were the only one that can do these things, you know, the one and only Son of God, right? But the thing about being Jesus, and the thing Jesus said is the kingdom of God is within. He's talking about this light that is within us all, right? He was an example. He was a lighthouse, right? So Jesus just shined his light so others can see the light that's within him, you know? Isn't it written that ye are gods, right? In your books, not his books, your books, because Jesus didn't write any books. Some people think Jesus wrote the Bible. Jesus didn't write any books. And we'll talk about Jesus' life and how it was manipulated by the church for control. So Jesus wouldn't necessarily be down with the church nowadays, just like he wasn't down with the church back then, right? Because the church was manipulating his people, right? Turning the house of God into a house of money, and he acted up in the church. The church didn't like him, not because he wasn't speaking spiritual truths, not because he was saying things or doing things that were bad. It's because he was messing the money up with the church, right? He was doing good things. He was telling people about their gods and the kingdom within and the ability to do the things that he can do and greater. And he was showing, some pretty cool things, right? Now, I don't subscribe to Jesus being someone that can walk on water or do crazy things like that. Maybe he could. I think he was more like a person like me and you, and his stories of what he did gets exaggerated over time because it's not like people were watching him and reading and writing down what he's doing. They're not doing that now, right? His disciples dipped on him at the end, right? And the stories that we hear are stories that told the stories of people who tell people who tell people, right? So like the telephone game. And those stories can get exaggerated, right? Just like the stories of me, for instance. Oh, well, Jesus came back, he had a feather in his hat. Okay, well, yeah, he did have a feather in his hat. Well, how big was it? It was pretty big. Well, it was big, and then the exact length of the feather can get exaggerated, right? But there's a fact that, yeah, he did have a feather in his hat. But now the story is he has a turkey on his hat, and now he's all about Thanksgiving. Or the story could be he was born on December 25th, and he's all about gifts under the Christmas tree and St. Nicholas. Or the story could be that he's all about bunnies and Christmas, not bunnies, but bunnies and eggs and stuff like that. Nah. Jesus was a time-traveling alien that was a spiritual warrior that was going against the church and state of his day, which were controlled by the same entities that are controlling the church and state of your day. And now we're going to talk about all of that. And you're going to see the control. That's why you want to escape the matrix. Now, what do you do? Now, they've really only given you options of voting in this one or voting out that one or choosing this party or that party, or, leaving the country and going to a different one, or just pacifying yourself with, let's not talk about it, let's just keep it PC, let's not offend anybody, let's just veg out on bad food, bad consumption of media, because your diet is not just what you eat, it's what you put in your mind and in your ears and all of this stuff, right? It's what you put into your being, your temple. But anyway, you got all of these things that contribute to keeping you asleep, and it's on purpose. And that same church and state was doing this way back in Jesus' time. But now they've taken that story and co-opted it and used it as a means of control, right? Now, we have an ability to change everything because we're the gods. We are gods. The only way 1% can control 99% is if they don't know their own value. So if you're supposed to be up here and they devalue and make you think you're down there, then now you feel you're worthless. So you act worthless. You do worthless things, right? But that's not the case. This is not really what you are. They program you to do that because it's easier to control a sheep versus a lion. And God only makes angels, just like a light or the sun only makes light rays. So we're kings and queens. Now, whether we act like it is different. Whether we're activated, whether we have our light on is different. We have the ability to forget. And that's what happens here, that we tend to forget. But I don't think it's natural here. I think this forgetting, right, is a program thing, because the information that I'm telling you, I had to compile and put together. And you see, there's nobody behind me. I got a whole family that have been hearing me talk about this for 10 years, and they think I'm crazy and going to hell, right? And they don't realize that hell is not a real place. And why would a God of everlasting love put you in hell? And why would you create hell for your children? And there's a whole other story on that, like the actual, value of, it was a trash pit and all that stuff. But they're not going to look past that, because people are not introduced to religions based on a series of choices based on what it is and what it isn't and this and that and the other. It is based like this is the truth and there are no options. We're not going to question this. It's not like, well, this is what we believe, this is what they believe, this is what they believe. And to be honest, we really don't know. And there's holes in this story, holes in that story. They don't give you all of that. They tell you like this is the truth. And we eat that hook, line, and sinker. We melanated people, dark-skinned people, and we're going to talk about our skin in a little bit. And I'm trying to keep it at a half hour. All righty. So this is what I was explaining to him as we're talking about melanated people. So from a scientific standpoint, consciousness, primary to matter, is like saying we're spiritual beings having a human experience or being in this matter reality. And this physical reality allows us to interact with each other. I can't give you a hug as a spirit, but I can give you a hug as a human in this physical reality. So this is why you do this. This is why you've done this. You're the consciousness experience in space and time. Your consciousness does not age. So from a time travel standpoint, if you realize that you activate that part of your consciousness, then you can experience yourself from that part of yourself that experiences space and time. And that's tough to explain, but the consciousness that you are now is experiencing space and time. And when you come back, if you come back, and we'll talk about reincarnation in a little bit, it's the same consciousness and it's the same time, because there's only one time, and that's now. You just experience now from different moments, and we measure the moments from now in time. So for instance, here's an example, and this is what I showed him as well. So this is now, I'm gonna drop this. This is now, and I'm gonna drop this. This is now, I'm gonna drop this. This is now, I'm gonna stand this up. This is now, we'll put this on, and this is now. And this ticket now, and I'm gonna drape this over here, and that's now, okay? Now, we're in the now, and all those nows existed, and we observed those nows. And those nows are now what, 5 seconds ago, 10 seconds ago, right? So the measurement of this now from that past experience of now is what we call time, but we're all experiencing it from the now. And it's just something that we automatically do. We just exist. We just observe reality. We're the consciousness doing this. Now, when you pass away, what happens to your consciousness? What happens to the breath when you exhale? Does the breath die? Does the spirit die, right? The sitting owl is still here. It's just not sitting in the same form. You're just changing forms just like a butterfly changes form, right? But the consciousness that is the next one coming in is you, another version of you, because we're all one conscious being playing and observing itself. If everything is God, then there's nothing that God isn't. Otherwise, you're saying something is separate from God, right? So just think about that. If God is everything, if people say, oh, God is everything, well, God is everything, then there's nothing that it isn't, including you, right? Now, if you think you're separate, then it's like, well, God is everything but me, and there's a separation. There isn't a separation. And this is what these people were talking about, these life showers. Anyway, the reason why this isn't mainstream and you don't know this is because you're easier to control if you're devalued, and they say you're going to get your reward in heaven. Your Savior's coming. You can't do it yourself. You're not equipped, even though he said back then you were equipped, and he's saying now you are equipped. And activating yourself is what Christ is. It's the title. It's not a name. You can be Christ. So you can be whatever your name is, Christ, like Michael Christ, Victor Christ. Christ, just imagine Christ being an activated being. You know who you are. You know you're a God. You know you're not your body, your thoughts, your emotions. You're in control of those things. You're not manipulated like other people are. If you think you're your thoughts or your emotions and things like that, then I can give you an input and get an output. I can get you to go in a certain direction, right? And that's what's happening now. The direction that we're going in is ones that make people want to escape. We're destroying the planet, we're destroying ourselves, we're fighting over superficial stuff that doesn't matter, that we didn't even create and control, that's given to us by people, that we see what the system does. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. It's been doing what it's supposed to do. It's not going to change itself, and who you vote in is not going to change it. That's what it's supposed to do. It's our job to either see that and choose to not participate in that system, or create our own system, or do something different than just complain about it and nothing, right? Spirituality in action is about taking action. And where are we now? 20 minutes. All right, so we're about to finish up. So this is, again, a little more in depth to the conversation, because we don't have the history that we had with the individual that I'm replaying this with. So I was talking to him and I was saying, hey, and we'll try to make this quick. I was trying to explain to him that black people, and let me see if I can change this mode. So let's say this is black people right here, right? I'm talking to black people here, right? And these are black people that, you know, love Jesus and love the Bible and all of this stuff, right? And I was trying to explain to them. And what was I using? I had like yeah. And let's say this is Africa over here, this backpack over here. Oh, can you see that? No, this is in the way. All right, let's say this is Africa right here, right, this backpack. And these are black people in America. Let's say this, and we'll put them on top of this cube, because they're really trying to control your time, right? And we'll get into that right at the end. Because there's time wars and time travelers and all of that stuff. So it's a lot of stuff. But the basics is a 100-degree challenge, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But imagine this is Africa. And I was saying, okay, and I'm talking to Joe Schmo black man, or black woman, or black person. Let's imagine this isn't sitting out now, this is Joe Schmo. And I'm talking to Joe Schmo, and I say, hey, you know, and they believe the Bible, you know, and all of this stuff. And I asked them, I said, well, if you believe that, you know, you came over here on a boat from Africa, right? If you believe that, and you know that the people that brought you here not of your own will, and they were not treating you very well, right? And you couldn't have your own language and your own beliefs and all that stuff, right? So you don't even know your own history. You don't even know that the beliefs that you were given are bastardizations of previous beliefs. Like, this is kind of representing the feather of my eye, which is something that the Ten Commandments was based on, right? Just like the story in Genesis is based on the Epic of Gilgamesh, right? These are things that you can look up for yourself and research. Prove me wrong, right? I've been talking about this for a while, and the only time I've been fact-checked is when someone else came on my show, on my live, and was mentioning something, and it's something he said, and I said something about COVID, and they changed their mind on COVID because a lot of things have changed right from the beginning when you really couldn't say nothing or be censored. But anyway, these people that bring you over here and treat you this way, and don't let you have your own language and history, and give you another language and history, give you another religion, right? Now, the same people giving you this religion, this belief system, you know, whatever you want to call that, the same people that give you that, the same people that brought you over here, the same people that are doing these negative things to you, when you want to question this, right? And then they write, well, we believe that all men are created equal, but we're still having slaves and all of this. I mean, we weren't seen, just because I have melanin, I wasn't seen as a human being. There's pictures of people that have one, I am a man. I got a shirt that I am a man. So we have to prove that just because we're darker, that we're men, which is crazy. White supremacy and all of that stuff. This isn't about white supremacy or black supremacy. Those are things that they use to keep us divided, right? We are all spiritual beings on the inside, right? Not all of us are aware of that. Not all of us are aware of the programming that we've been given. And we just run that program. And some people are programmed to be white supremacists, right? But I'd love to talk to one and try to, you know, well, I wouldn't say I love to talk to one. If there's a smart one, but then you wouldn't be a white supremacist if you're smart. Like, I think I'm one of the smartest people in the world, not because of IQ or intelligence, because I understand that whatever I know is just a grain of sand on a beach. So it's not about acquiring knowledge. I'm not going to be able to acquire all the knowledge of the universe. It's just one little bit. So I'm tasting a little bit of everything. I'm a jack of all trades, right? I'm a fisherman, right? This is why all of this fisher stuff. So I'm a fisher of men, right? I'm a fisherman still now, and trying to get men to realize the divinity they have within them, because we're the pixels of the screen that change this matrix. There's no one that's coming to save us, right? Jesus ain't coming here to fix your mess, clean up your mess, right? I'm not a janitor, right? And it wouldn't be fair. It wouldn't be right. Like, what sense does that make? What lesson does it learn if you keep cleaning up your kid's room if they keep messing it up? You need to learn how to fix it yourself. And it's going to be tough. It's going to be changed, but that's what it's going to take. And no one's going to do it for us, because they're just going to take advantage, the people that are taking advantage now. And you're going to see a whole lot of stuff that's coming out. But anyway, yeah, a whole lot of stuff. I'm trying to keep it quick. I got 5 more minutes, but yeah, okay. So yeah, they don't question that. It's like, well, yeah, Massa's beating me on this end and raping me on this end and gave me this Bible and is talking about Jesus, right? And yeah, and you don't question it, right? Yeah, because they care about your spiritual freedom while they're enslaving you physically, right? It doesn't make sense. But people love that program because of hell and the everlasting, well, a big part of it is hell and the everlasting fire, and they don't want to go to hell. So it's like, it's like God made hell for everybody that didn't accept Jesus. And it's like, well, if you believe this, then you're going to get like, hell insurance. Like, hell insurance. I just don't want to burn forever by, a loving God that loves me unconditionally. So if God loves you unconditionally, then that must be a condition. So it's not unconditionally, right? So there is a condition. So what is the condition for God's love? Well, and that's the whole, that's the whole deal, right? Everyone's trying to get God's love. The thing is, you already are God. You can love yourself, right? Love yourself as your neighbor. Most people don't love themselves. Most people have a negative image of themselves. They don't realize the divinity that they have within. So talking this stuff is like, blasphemy, because they look at themselves as lower because they're programmed to be lower by the system. And a lot of the religions do that. So talking to them about other systems of belief that are more enlightening and more empowering and more freedom and more freeing, you get nowhere. Like, for me, I got nowhere. And so what I've done is I put it into the 100-degree challenge. And really what I'm talking about is the difference in consciousness, going from consciousness level 0 to level 1, or going from water to steam, right? And the reason why no one's here, because no one's put in the degrees to get to steam, right? So I'm around a whole bunch of varied degree water, but I'm an example that steam is available, that you can experience a different state. Ice can experience a state and go to water. Water can experience a state and go to steam and be everywhere, right? The same water that's being froze right now in this cube can be steam and be everywhere, right? If it puts energy into itself, right? That's the 100-degree challenge. And this is just asking questions. Again, we're talking about programming, like these belief systems, heavy programming. They do it when you're young, just like you believed in Santa Claus. Some of y'all still telling your kids about Santa Claus. Later, they're going to realize Santa Claus wasn't real. But later on, they don't realize that Jesus wasn't real. Or they don't realize that they are God, or that they can activate that same divinity within them. And that's what these guys and women were talking about. Yeah, they may not realize that, especially depending on their circle and if they don't question, because again, those circles tend to reinforce those beliefs. They're not going to have people questioning. They don't like questioning, because why? I don't know why, because the truth doesn't fear questioning. If it's real, it's real. If something I'm saying is not true, then let's go for it, right? And this is from my timeline, right? And I've been doing this for years. And I'm saying, if anything that I'm saying, and this is why it's been rolled out, I'm saying it's not true. And I've been talking about higher consciousness. I've been talking about spirituality. I've been talking about being awake in this matrix. Like, this is my timeline. And so this is my life. And you can Google Victor Bang and you can see it online. This is part of the example. He thought this was a good example. Because this is my timeline. This is what I did. Victor Bang was here. He did all this. Just like my family would say, oh, well, he's got that suit on. When he wore that suit, you know how much work he did? You know what he did? This is the clean one. It's not the dirty. But I'm just saying, this was my life and this is what I did. Right? Just like Jesus existed in the past, the being, right? You can say Yeshua, you can say, Yeshua or Jesus, whatever. But the being that animated that, the spirit that animated that, Michael. Some religions believe that Michael was the spirit that animated Jesus. So I'm a soldier like Michael. I'm animating this character again, right? This new incarnation of the same spirit, right? And as far as reincarnation, just imagine a radio station and you're broadcasting it to this radio and bam, you drop this radio breaks. The radio station is still broadcasting. When you fix that radio and get that signal and the radio plays again, is that reincarnation? So no, if that signal is still there and that signal is broadcast, that's Christ consciousness. That's that light, so you can access that. That's your higher self. That's your spirit aspect of yourself. Now this matrix, and I'll get into this and then I'll end. But yeah, most people listen to that and they just say, you know, and then that's it, you know. Listen to John Henry Clarke if you want to go down that. You know, listen to some scholars because the biblical scholars know this stuff, but they still go along with the game. And it's a game because there's money involved. Same thing that was going on back in the day. Rome and the church are kind of the same deal. The Roman Catholic Church, they're the ones that decided what got in and what got out of the Bible and edited all that stuff and all that. You can look all that up. Like the Bible just didn't fall out the sky. It's one book, right? It's a series of books that they put together. And this book talks about this. Nah, they don't need to hear about that because that's too freeing. Just like the Vatican doesn't want you to see whatever it's hiding in his basement, but it's all about truth, right? But you see, Jesus was all about truth then. He's all about truth back then. This is what they did. And that was its core. Its core is about your spiritual being having a human experience, the same thing I'm doing, same thing you're doing. We're the same thing. We're all God experiencing itself. If God is everything, there's nothing that it's not. That's the core teaching. The life experience is what Jesus did in this body. Jesus would have did it in that body, or in your body, because we all have the ability to be Christ. That's what Jesus was talking about. Jesus is talking about that again, just as Michael or Victor Bain, right? But the reason that I pull on Jesus is because I'm not going to let you defame my past life like that. And plus, they work on multiple lifetimes. They're playing a long game, and we're playing a long game. There's a war between light and dark here, and you're seeing it spill into your reality in ways that it hasn't been done before. That's why everything is getting a little crazier. Yeah, you got some craziness going on. But, yeah, they're not going to tell you all of that. So the core is that. This is what the church does. They don't take the full teaching of Jesus, like all the stuff that he did and taught, right? Because that will go against the constriction and the control that they have now. It will go against them getting money for what? What does God need money for? Like, what does God need money? And God gives us everything free. And look how much money the church has and look at what it does. Look at what it does to little boys. Look how people know what it does to little boys and still allow it to exist in the same way that it does and have that much wealth and not do as much good as it could do or as it should do, right? And we're going to be an example of showing what you can do with that much resource. We got to get the resources first, but we're showing we're out here, and if you want to support, you can. But this is what the churches did. They took that whole core, they did that all deal, and then they just give you the facade, right? They give you the facade, and then they just make you think, but it's nothing. When you really look at it, it's nothing. Outside, it looks like the full thing, just on the surface, right? If you just look at this, you may just think it's full. No, but when you really look at it, when you really examine it, it's empty. And they just use the story of Jesus to manipulate you because they give you this good guy and then you killed him and make you guilty and you got to do everything that we say and give us some money because God needs money for some reason, and then you're going to get your reward in heaven, right? That's the game that's been working for a long time. And it's a game that's been played on multiple levels. Once you raise your consciousness, you can see above the level it's played on. Like that game is played on this level right here. Whoa, like you can't see it because you're not on that level, but you can't say that level doesn't exist. I'm telling you, like, hey, these people up here at that higher level are manipulating this level. They're giving you these saviors and they're manipulating you into fighting while they're the one that's continue to benefit. And you see that example, but they say, we'll do it then and we'll do it then, give you hope and all of that stuff. Like that's happening on that level. Like I was talking about that, right? It's pretty funny to see that. That's behind the curtain, right? Wizard of Oz, you had the power the whole time. Like it's there in your face, awake a free guy in the Matrix and all that stuff. That's what we're talking about. That's what they were talking about back then, right? They just didn't have the same language. Matrix is in the Bible. Let's talk about it in the Bible. Again, physical reality. And this is what, again, they want to do. They want to control your time and waste your time. They know time is the only valuable thing they have, so they can just get you to do your time, just feeding them money, and you'll get your reward when you die, but all the time, which is the only thing that you have of real value here, you're going to waste on doing nonsense and things that are not going to benefit you or enlighten you or get you to grow spiritually as you could here. Because once you make that connection, you can grow spiritually here, knowing that in ways that are pretty cool, because you're here on this side of the matrix, if you will. And I have family here, I have friends here, I have people that I care about and don't want to be caught up in their trap, because their trap is a time trap to just keep you floating along in their timeline. But up here is a different timeline, and it's a lot cooler up here. Like up there is a whole, like, man, like, really? Like, y'all want to be down here and like, really? Do you see it? Like, oh, you don't see it. Those with eyes can see and those with ears to hear. I get it. So I'm saying you can awaken, you can see another layer to reality. And that layer is a different path that can be taken instead of this path of self-destruction that they want us to go to. And you can look at all this, and you can Google all this, and you can see, for one, is it possible? I'm just saying, is this possible? 100-degree challenge, is it possible? It's not about me and who I was and who I am and what I'm gonna do, because I'm gonna do that. You can look at that at The Truman Show, Cy Esteem, VictorBang.com. You can hear the music. This has been talked about for years. I've been laying stuff in the past. I just did a freestyle, kind of predicting and just kind of showing you an example of me placing my markers on the timeline and also seeing if I'm either predicting it or am I creating it. We're gonna see, because I'm not saying what it is, but it's being captured in a song format and it's already out there, and we'll see what happens, right? How accurate will my prediction be? And we'll talk about it later, or we'll talk about it during. Because we are the ones experiencing time. This is about manipulating time and playing with time, and they do that as well. They really just try to get you to waste time. And they don't want you to look inside, right? Because this is the other thing they do. Because there's nothing wrong with you, right? But they can make you think all this stuff on the inside, right? By putting these things on the outside. That's the belief systems. That's the things that they write on the outside, but it doesn't touch you on the inside. You're always going to be a spiritual being having a human experience. You're always going to be loved, right? Now, you may not know that. You may treat other people like they aren't that, because that's part of the root cause of what's going on here. You don't see the divinity in the other person. You don't see the other person's light. You think the other person is somebody different. That's lower level stuff. Up in this level, I see the other person's light. I see that they're the same as me. I see their divinity. I see that hurting them is hurting me on a different level, on a different perspective, on a different timeline, in a different universe. Why would I do that? Why would I be stupid enough to hurt myself? Only if I didn't know, only if I didn't think that that was me. That's what goes on down here. That's what we do all day, every day. We about to do World War III. We about to get in all day because that person got a little lighter shade in me, and he don't pray to the same person that I pray to, and all this here and the other. But this is all stuff that they keep us locked in, but they ain't gonna tell you that, because they keep us moving while they up here. They saying, yeah, bring the money up here, but keep them moving there. They playing chess on this level, and we down here fighting over belief systems that are given to us by them. Right? That's what we got going on. But when you break them open, the reason they don't like Jesus, and Jesus would be awful. I even should make a website called Jesus and Awful and put this and let the comments come and let the support come. Maybe there'll be support. Like, I will support Jesus. If he was here, I'll support him. You know, yeah, okay, he's black. Well, I do like my long hair. You know, that picture Grandma had was pretty good, you know, and yeah, you know, but I'd work with him. Yeah, I mean, let's see what he's got. Right, let's start with the basics. Sorry. And that's the basics, right? So you want to support me? Buy that. Download that. That would do two things. Do that. But anyway, most people don't want to do that because they don't want to activate the Christ within them, because then they have to realize that they are the ones they've been waiting on. Their God. The things that they put on the Savior are the things that they have to do. They have to fix those things. People don't do that. So they'll spend their time doing other things. But most won't open that flower and realize that they're Jesus, they're Christ. That cross that's within them. That's them. That's the story. But that's something that they have to unfold. That's an internal thing that no one can get to, right? No one can get to that. I can't wake anyone up. I've tried. Trust me, I've tried. My whole family, I tried to wake them up. I wanted them to be here. I wanted them to be all behind me, like, yeah, you tell them, Victor. Yeah, because I was, hard-headed back then, and, after you talked to me about 5 years, it took about 5 years to get it. It's about 10 years ago, right? So yeah, I'm just saying, you can't You can't make any. You can lead them to water, but you can't make them drink. And the belief in hell is tough. That's a big one. Most of them are just so scared of hell. Alrighty. But again, they're just trying to waste your time. Victory over noise is victory over, it's like a red pill. Because the truth is, everybody's looking for God, but they don't think that that's possible, that God could be you. But if God is everything, there's nothing that God isn't, right? So they spend your time wasting on all these things when you don't even know who is spending the time. And that time is something that you don't get back. Elon Musk, millions of dollars that they make it seem like he's so ecstatic every time he gets another one. Like, to me, he's broke because he can't buy another minute of time. And maybe he's smart enough to know that, maybe he's not. But time is the most valuable thing we have. All right, y'all.